Hi, this is Nick George with Claus Diamond Sharpening. I'm just going to show you a video on when you're cutting dog hair or human hair and it leaves like a little mohawk or lines in the cut instead of making it nice and smooth. So we're going to diagnose this and see what the problem is and then how we can get it fixed. So let's go down to the table and see if we can get this blade not to leave lines. Okay, so we're always going to start with, guess what it is? What are we going to do to this blade? If it's leaving lines, is it dull? Is there not enough oil? Is the clipper broken? Well, let's just go ahead and find out what the problem is. This doesn't have a problem, but we're going to pretend it does. It's leaving lines in the cut. So meaning it's not making a steady, smooth cut when you're going through the hair. Okay? So now how do we know if it's the sharpening or the clipper? Well, it's easy. So if it's pulling hair, then it's the sharpening. Okay? So if it's just leaving lines and it's still cutting the hairs, easily and not pulling hair, well, then it could be, let's go ahead and start with the first problem, oil. So what's happening when it leaves lines, this blade isn't moving, it's just moving a little bit like this. So what's going to happen is every other tooth is going to cut good, and then one of the tooth on each, every other tooth is not going to cut good, and it's going to leave longer hair, and that's because this isn't moving 100% like this, okay? So first we're going to go to the first problem, okay? So it could be the oil. The oil is important. So if you put oil on your blade, it's going to be easier to move. So the clipper's going to move it easier, okay? Now that may not be the whole problem, but it could fix the problem for a little bit. But you need to diagnose the clipper, because what's happening is you used oil for too long without oil too long, or pieces are just wearing out and there's play in this. That means it can't move 100%. It's only moving like 50%, so it's only going to cut half the hair. Okay, so oil. Okay, now if you oil your blade and it's still having a problem, well then you can check this. Okay, if it's more than 2 pounds of pressure on a scale when you push this cutter and then it slides in, if it says more than 2 pounds, then that could be the problem. Too much tension means the clipper has to work harder and it can't move this blade all the way. But like I said, if it's not pulling hair, the blade is sharp. The blade will pull hair, you'll notice when it's dull. If you don't engage this all the way, so like if it's like that, moving a little bit because it's not engaged, so you got to hear that click of the latch, or if you're a barber it just has to be all the way down flush. They have a different hinge. So it could be you have to get your clippers maintenance not only to clean the carbon out of these, the sharpener should check and make sure this has no play in it. Because if it has play, then every time it moves left to right, it's gonna not move 100% and you're gonna get lines in the cut. If your blades are orange, that could most likely, you're gonna need a service, plus you're gonna need a sharpening, because what happened is you didn't oil the blade and it caused burn marks or rust or dried out metal to turn orange. And if your clippers are orange, that's the first sign of you not oiling. I understand oil puts it in the hair, but it's either a little bit of oil that you can wash out and that doesn't do anything. It's like using like Ricky Ricardo. I imagine his hair has oil in it. not clipper blade oil, but it's, you know, it's real shiny and whatever. I'm just guessing. But the oil shouldn't be a problem for anybody, because you can blow it off, you can wipe it off, just put oil on it if they're orange, if they're getting orange. But by then it's kind of too late, and you need to get them sharpened, and then you'll need to do oil after that. Because if you don't, I would assume I would rather have oil in someone's hair rather than rust or metal debris. So people that say they can't oil, I kind of understand, but I kind of don't, because it's worse. So just oil your clippers and oil your blades, I mean, not your clippers. Oil your blades, keep them oiled, keep this tension low, keep these parts running at 100%, and you should never get lines. Also, so if you take the blade, it could also leave lines if this cutter blade is over this running surface. What that does is means the cutting blade is only cutting half of the blade, because half of it's hanging off the comb blade, and that's only going to cut half the hair. So this has to be adjusted right, the tension has to be set right, the blade must be oiled, the blade must be sharp, and you will not get lines. I 100% guarantee that. So if these front moving parts like this bearing, if it's broken, it will leave lines, I promise. There's a little play in this. You can lock the bearing to the side, and you can see it still wobbles a little, but it's my test clipper, so I'm really not concerned about it. But if I was a groomer, I would be concerned about that, and I would replace this drive. How do I know it's the drive? Well, because there's not orange in there. Like I said, if there's orange in there, that bearing's 80% chance it's broken. So keep your blades oiled, and you need to find a sharpener. If not me, then somebody else that sets your blades right. And if you keep going to the same sharpener and you keep getting lines, he's probably not servicing your clipper right. Especially if the blades are not pulling hair, that means they're sharp. If the blades are pulling hair and leaving lines, well, you probably got a dull blade, and you might need to get your clipper serviced also. It's important, because you can have a perfectly sharp blade and a clipper that looks like it's perfectly new, and it's just leaving lines, and that's because something is broken on the clipper, something is worn out on the clipper, the blade doesn't have oil, or the tension is too tight. If the tension is too tight, it's just too hard to move this blade. I recommend 2 to 3 pounds of pressure. That's a pretty good rule of thumb. I try to go 1 to 3. You probably never see a blade over 3 from me, hopefully, because I check them all, so hopefully I don't miss one. But thank you for this wonderful adventure. Please leave comments, please subscribe. I like making these videos if y'all like watching them, so show me your support. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.